Come on, how'd you not know that was coming, Coach?
Dude, it's just because I figured you'd have a little I mean, I forgot who I'm dealing with here.
Sorry. Probably was. I think it was one of the biggest wins of the weekend. Probably the biggest.
I know, but at the end of the day, it's like, how many friggin' times are we gonna play this song? I mean, it's not. You played it
when you have ranked wins over 4 ranked teams, you're gonna hear it a lot.
The problem is you've played it when it wasn't really warranted, and it's losing a little bit of its luster.
See, I don't think so. I mean, you can't say it wasn't warranted.
No, it was.
When you stop a team 17 game,
we'll just play Oklahoma. We'll play Oklahoma whenever, Go ahead.
Whenever they have a big win over probably what everybody thought was going to be the top team in college football. I mean, as far as I don't know what else you want to say.
Some of the other, maybe this week, some of the other times, I don't know.
Hey man, big win. Can't argue with it. All right, baby, we're going to get moving over here with. First, we're going to start off before we get into the games from last week. We're going to start off with the big news. All right, we got a couple of first news is James Franklin going to Virginia Tech. Was listening to a couple of shows on Sirius about college football, and I think a lot of guys said it really good about James Franklin and his recruiting in that basically that belt area, the Beltway, with all the Maryland and all Virginia and all that area, and he does a really good job of taking kids away from VTech, from Virginia, from Old Dominion, from all those schools around there. And it's a hotbed of talent. I've always heard that, Baltimore area. And, him being now right in the middle of that at Virginia Tech, seems like a great fit for him and the program, I think. That's my opinion of that. What do you guys think, man?
Yeah, I mean, Virginia Tech doesn't get the recruits that Penn State does, though. But I think depending on who Penn State hires is going to be if all those kids leave, if a couple of the kids leave and go to Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
So I watched the thing yesterday. I mean, this was on Pat McAfee. They had a kid on there. This kid looks like friggin' Conan the Barbarian. He's I want to say the kid's last name is Brown. He's I want to say he's like a top 10 offensive line. I want to say offensive tackle recruit that Penn State lost because Franklin got fired.
Yeah,
he committed to Penn State because of Franklin. And the dad is an alumni of West Virginia. So it was there was a big West Virginia thing going on. Pat McAfee's an alumni. The dad is a big alumni of West Virginia, played for Rich Rod. Obviously, Rich Rod's back there. So once Franklin left, they're like, we're out of here. And what I took away from it is Franklin did get some guys because I think of his – the way, his gift of gab and the way he is, he's from what I understand, a great recruiter. Obviously, you hear the stories about Saquon being recruited by him. So I do think that that's a part of it. I do think that now in the era, we beat this horse to death in the era of NIL and, pay me now. I don't know if Virginia Tech packs the same punch as Penn State did. Also landing the big, super big time guys. Mm-hmm. You can kind of make a little bit of a correlation to, the post Bill O'Brien era Penn State Nittany Lions to maybe Virginia Tech. Not quite, but I mean, everybody's like, well, they're not Penn State. Penn State wasn't what we think of them right now. They weren't that way when Franklin got hired there either. So I think he's going to have some success. Obviously, they're not exactly relevant right now. So I think under him, they're going to take a couple steps in the right direction. So I wish the guy luck, man.
Yep.
I hate him.
Now listen, we know what a lot of this stuff revolves around money. But I do think, from what I hear, he's a very good recruiter and good with the kids. So I think, listen, we know Virginia Tech is a step below Penn State. But remember, for years it wasn't. Right now it is. But, I mean, I don't know what their money is, what the NIL, who knows what it's going to be there and how much of a commitment they're going to have. But we'll see how that shakes out. But I do think it's a I think for James Franklin being up in the north, I guess you can't call it northeast, but it is kind of northeast. Even though it is in Virginia, I think it's a better spot than going further south. Like it's not going to be like Brian Kelly going to LSU. Like James Franklin probably would have been good anywhere, but I think this is probably the best. Plus, he said that he has his in-laws. His brother-in-law lives like 5 minutes from Blacksburg, so that was a family thing. He's got family in the area, so that's what it seemed like. It was a good mix, and I think he's probably going to do well there. I mean, if he does what he did at Penn State, a little bit close to that, he'll be a legend there. So,
just show the recruits cut-ups of them taking the field.
Yeah,
sold. You know what I mean?
That was the first question that they asked.
Sandman,
he goes, "Are you a Metallica fan?" One of the girls says it, and he goes, "Well, I'm more of a hip hop this type of guy, but I am definitely a fan of that song." And then they talk about the entrance and everything, so that was pretty cool. And something now we got to talk about. We have 2 breaking news. Once again, Coach Kite, you do have the text. You said you saved it, but the Mush, G-Pa Mush, we got to call him now because he's a grandpa. But G-Pa Mush strikes again for the umpteenth time. The power of this one out of nowhere.
This is,
it was
wild.
Unbelievable.
30-3.
What was the score at Malt? Right? 30-3.
30-3. And
30-3.
Again, this is going to sound like a little bit embellished for the sake of the show. I wish I had a Bible here. He sent the text. Malt's text was, "OMG, Texas A&M." I was not watching the game. I was, so I quick Google. Oh my God, they're losing 30-3.
Yeah.
Couple comments after that. Oh my God! Jay Groshel's text was this.
He puts the stamp on it.
Huge upset loss, as if the game were over.
Yeah, right.
26 minutes later, I look at the score, and this is before halftime. So this is 26 minutes inclusive of halftime. The score is 30-26.
Unbelievable.
And they end up winning 31-30.
Now everybody knows we're talking about the Texas A&M game, and the text was sent by the Mush, and then right from that point on, right, it was all Texas A&M.
It was all Texas A&M.
I mean, to the point where it was like
they couldn't even cross the 50s.
It was unbelievable, man.
You can't make it up. You can't make it up. There's been a couple this year where it was like Mateer getting hurt after Jay Groh anoints him the Heisman. There's a lot. Lot. To the point where I try and get him on the record regarding the Giants, and he won't do it. I mean, have we caught on to that?
Yeah, of course.
Prior to maybe this year, it would be like, hey, what do you guys think about Jackson Dart finally getting the start?
Car accident, something. Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Joking.
All right, baby. Let's get into some unbelievable games last weekend. And we're going to start off with, of course, Boomer. I mean, listen, guys, I know you guys watched it, and in my opinion, awesome masterpiece by Brent Venables and his defensive staff. Just the stuff that they did to confuse Alabama. I'm watching it. I'm like watching these guys drop out of coverage. At sometimes it was more like bend, don't break. And then sometimes it was, a combination of zone and man blitzing. And Brent Venables, I just think, had Ty Simpson using the old Sam Darnold quote, seeing ghosts out there. Mm-hmm. Sam had, 2 picks all year. And in this game, he has 3 turnovers. He threw for 300-plus yards, which, listen, I thought Alabama was definitely going to move the ball on him. But in the end, the 3 turnovers proved the difference in the game. 1 pick six, another fumble inside the 35, 40-yard line that led to points. Every one of their turnovers led to points. as long as and also taking points away from Alabama at times. But I mean, getting out to that quick 10-0 lead for Oklahoma at Tuscaloosa, I think was big for them, kind of taking the crowd out of it a lot. And they went right down the field the opening drive. The offense didn't do much. I'm being 100% honest. They went right down the field in the opening drive, which I was happy to see. And it died inside the red zone, but they got a field goal out of it. And then Bama in their first two drives go 3 and out in the first two drives. And, Oklahoma gets another pick six after Bama starts driving that last time on, a nice little overthrow by Ty Simpson, and it was picked off by Eli Bowen, who for the pick six. And just the OU defense just kept continuously setting up the offense in great positions. I mean, it's not like I said, their offense has its limits. I really think the run game, is subpar. The passing game is really one guy and a couple of throws here and there to somebody else. But it's Isaiah Satania and John Mateer scrambling is really their game. And right now, I wish they would do some more, stick with some of the RPOs, stick with more of the ride, read, backside, frontside read stuff, and not just go with the quarterback power stuff. But their offensive line did do very well against Bama and a good front there. So I was happy with that, even though we did not have Mason Thomas, our best defensive player, did not play in the game. Taylor Wine really stepped up, and I remember when I went to the Temple game, I talked about him wearing number 44, and I watched him, and I was like, man, if you're going to wear number 44, you better step up a little bit, dude. If you're going to
Who was number 44?
Yeah, you know who it was, dude. Stop it. Guy named the Boz, one of the top sheriffs in America right now as far as the crime rate in college.
Fansville
is really like nothing right now. I mean, we have to admit that it's nothing down in
except for all the home invasions and stuff.
That's when he went to Jerry Jones Pro Town. Remember?
Oh, okay.
He went to Pro Town.
Listen, you don't have to convince me about that.
So I mean, listen, he stepped up. He did good. He had that great move with the arm, snapping the arm down, ripped underneath, and he smacked Ty Simpson, knocking the ball out. So I was really impressed by the defense, and also, I mean, their kicker Tate Sandell is a dog, man. The guy is unbelievable. He's so far in the season, he's 7 for 7 on field goals, over 50 yards. I think the Giants should just show up right now and sign him as a free agent. Just grab him right now.
Sign somebody.
And give him a couple $1 million to come, whatever it is. I don't know how much kickers get paid. But I can't believe that situation. That's a whole other story. But the Oklahoma defense, I mean, Kip Lewis had, generated a lot of pressure. Did a really good job. But, a lot of good stuff by the Oklahoma defense. Bama tight end, Josh Cuervas did. I was going to say Jose Cuervas. That's kind of. I kept thinking that every time I see his name, I kept wanting to say Jose, but it was Josh. So he had. I mean, they kind of did some things where they snuck him out of formations, and I'm telling you, it was like some of the stuff that Bama had to do was basically like some trickery to kind of get like some favorable things because. I mean, Brent Venables just had him dialed in, and then they kept using some delays to the tight end, some wheel routes out of the tight end they haven't showed to a guy that really hasn't done much, and he winds up coming in this game and having 6 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. And he was a difficult cover because, that was the one play they do. They ran 2. They ran that the stumble play.
Stumble bomb.
Yeah, the stumble bomb where some people say it was fake. It was not really true. I said, nah, that was the same play that somebody else ran. I saw it on people were playing the same tape.
That's the Saban leftover, man.
Yeah, so it was I was impressed. And then the other thing that really I thought was hilarious, and I don't know how this happened, but at the last play of the game, you had a stop by Peyton Bowen made a stop on that last deflected pass on the 4th down play, which was a beautiful play, and the ball was a little thrown behind him, but you have these 2 guys that are brothers. Older brother Peyton makes the play at the end of the game, and younger brother Eli Bowen makes the pick 6. So I got to give Brent Venables probably some props here because these 2 kids are from Texas. But when you have 2 brothers that are named Peyton and Eli, and you get them at Oklahoma, I mean, that's a great job of recruiting, I guess, right? You know, because we know where probably mom and dad wanted them to go. I just found it like hilarious that's the name of, you know, the parents named the kids Peyton and Eli, and that's hilarious to me. But it was kind of funny. But I mean, I was very impressed, man. This just clutch play by the Sooner defense all day. What do you guys think about it, man?
Yeah, I mean the way like anyone who didn't watch the game, and they just look at the box score, they're gonna see these stats, and it's gonna be first downs, Oklahoma 12, Bama 23. Third down, Oklahoma 3 for 13, Bama 5 for 9. Fourth downs, Oklahoma didn't go for one, but Bama was 2 for 3. Total yards 212 to 406, passing 138 to 326, and then bang, 3 turnovers for Bama, 0 turnovers for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Defense was amazing, like you said, Z. Just to go off that a little bit. Still want to see them do a little bit better in the passing D. I'm just
Oh,
gonna
all right,
keep ripping
please.
them with that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, hell of a game. Beat a hell of a team in a hell of an environment, and I mean, their defense is just coming up big for them. So you really can't knock them for that at all. Doing great.
Yeah, I got to tip your cap to him, man. As much as no one wants to. But Venerables was the defense was awesome. Here's the thing. Obviously, I was rooting for Alabama. I picked them, and the song makes me want to throw up in my mouth when I hear it. So I'm rooting for Alabama, and they're in 10 personnel, and they're motioning to it. And Venerables has, dude, like 6 guys up, right? Both A gaps, like zone pressure look. And we're talking about Alabama Crimson Tide. And you're talking about some of the highest level football there is. They're getting free rushers coming from everywhere. Like you talk about seeing ghosts. Ty Simpson, I mean, the sacks were one thing. They don't tell the story of how much the kid was pressured. I mean, this is a very elite passer. This is a very elite offensive staff in terms of throwing the ball. To me, the biggest component of a passing game is not patterns, it's protection. And it was like you see this 6-up look, right? And Z, we could talk offensive line stuff all day. When you get gapped up front, unfortunately, and regardless of what you want to do, it's most likely going to be checked to slide one way, back goes the other way. It's usually the way the quarterback wants to look. So any type of guy who would come free is going to be in direct line of sight of the quarterback, so he can kind of hot it, right?
Yep.
Instead, and then what happens? Like you drop a guy out of the middle, and you have an offensive lineman who sets to nobody, but it's fine because you're not. I would rather take that than a guy coming free. You mic the wrong guy. That guy comes, and now even if your back steps up to block him, you're talking about a collision that's made 3 yards in the backfield, right in front of the quarterback's face. Not to mention these patterns are down the field. They were trying to throw down consistently, down the field, 3 yards, 5-yard hit, step drops, and they could not protect it, and they didn't stop doing it.
Yeah.
You talked about the tight end, and you talked about some of the stuff they went to get their stuff. They couldn't protect this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They motioned into 2 stack, it was dual stack. And Venerables did nothing. The 6 guys, there wasn't one guy out of the pressure that went out to cover anybody. So it's like, okay, we know what's going on here. These 6 guys, not one guy dropped out. Even if they did drop out, they wouldn't have been able to get to where they needed to get to. So it's like, maybe all 6 of these guys are coming. And guess what? A lot of times they did.
Yeah.
I was just blown away at how stubborn Alabama was with thinking at some point, by the 3rd quarter, don't you think, hey, wait a second, we got to get the ball out of this kid's hands a little quicker.
Yeah.
Tip my cap to Venerables, man. He did not sacrifice any pressure for coverage. He did have what I think is a very poised Ty Simpson seeing ghosts. It was the story of the game because Oklahoma's offense did struggle a little bit. But if they're going to go ahead and play defense that good, that well at that level consistently and generate that kind of pressure, they're going to be tough to beat, man.
That's the thing for me. Like watching them, I use like they remind me of a lot of stuff that we used to do with Mac and everything, and a lot of things that Brian did. Where the Achilles heel in Oklahoma sometimes is just lining up and trying to pound him.
Yep.
Because you take away a lot of the scheme. And this is what I'm worried a little bit about this week, because you're going to have a team that's going to line up and try to do that, in Missouri coming in this week. But I tell you, just watching the stuff that Venables does, I am just like, I love it. I love watching it. And it seems like to me, like the one thing I'm going to say about this, and I'll leave it off, is, and I said it years ago, me and Bill Kleisler, big Oklahoma fans, would say it, the biggest mistake that Bob Stoops made was when he took his brother over Venables as a defensive coordinator, and he hired his brother, and Venables went to Clemson, and we all know what happened at Clemson. When Venables got there, they were a national championship team every year. And now that he's gone, they're nothing. If he would have stayed for Oklahoma and been there with the rest of Stoops' tenure, and then with the offenses that Lincoln Riley put on the field, I think they would have had a couple more national championships there. And I really do. I'm going to say that because their offense always, their defense was just a sieve for years. And now, I mean,
they weren't a sieve, Z. They had some guys.
But Jared, listen, I've watched the team. They had defensive linemen that were dudes all the time when Venables was there. When he left, they didn't have that. They just didn't have the same guys. They were very vanilla. They can line up. They had some guys, but it's the scheme. When you take, I'm sorry, if you took Brent Venables and put him in charge of the Texas Longhorn defense, I don't think anybody scores on that team.
No, you're right.
Because there is so many more higher recruits there, better athletes to start off with. But then Venables also talks about his guys, anybody he wants guys that have a chip on their shoulder. And like I always talk about the guys that can't live without football and the guys that got something to prove. And Oklahoma, for the most part, doesn't get a lot. I looked up the 5 stars. They don't have any 5 stars on their team.
I think everybody says that.
Yeah.
If we're being honest, I'm not trying to shit on Oklahoma at all. I think every coach is like, I listened to Rich Rodriguez yesterday talk about his hard edge and all. It's like, this is West Virginia, dude. They're not playing. They're not even going to compete with any of it. Every coach says they want the kid with the chip on his shoulder, the competitive, the high level. James Franklin says the same thing. Everybody says the same thing.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you, dude. Like it's like what Kirby Smart. I think Kirby Smart said the same thing the other day. I texted you guys about it when they were asked about how tough your practices are. Are you afraid you're going to lose some of your players and lose guys? And you know what he says? He goes, No, we're not afraid. We just want to schedule those guys. Whenever that kid goes, we want to play him. And that's I think Venables' mentality the same way. And it shows up. I'm just telling you, I'm impressed, and I'm going to say I told you I'm very worried about this weekend. Ahmad Hardy's coming off an awesome game, and his team can run the ball downhill, and I'm going to worry about it. I'm definitely going to be worried about it, but hopefully, we can get out of there with a win. Next game, Coach, you're going to tell us about the
listen,
Texas Longhorns.
It was bad, man. It was bad. And I'm just going to be honest. No excuses. The one little thing I will say is, and I don't know if you guys watched the game in its entirety, Texas had their chances. I'm not going to sit here and just say it was a complete, they weren't outclassed in terms of talent and ability. And they just, in my opinion, I felt like Georgia put together a little bit of a better game plan, specifically on offense against Texas's defense. That was the matchup they needed to win. And this was I got to tip my cap to Kirby Smart and his staff and the culture stuff. They live and die by that Blood Tuesday, we're going to kill you and drag you into deep water and all that. And it just kind of came to fruition. And I feel like this was a game where, Georgia has won ugly. I think that's a term we could use. It's like they're in these close games and you're like, oh my God, they had all this resiliency. It's like, sometimes people call it, they won a close game or they won ugly, whatever it is. This was them starting to execute at a little bit of a higher level and look a little bit more polished. They rolled the dice and took some chances on 4th down, which paid off for them. Obviously, the big surprise trick onside kick recovery was huge in terms of deflating Texas, trying to get a little bit of momentum going. But in the beginning of the game, Arch was, if there's any silver lining for me as a Longhorn fan, and for Longhorn fans out there, I just feel like a fair statement is Arch Manning has gotten better every week. I thought this was a absolutely wild environment. Playing Kirby Smart between the hedges is huge. And I think Arch was on in the beginning of the game, and he was dealing. And, a lot of his guys were dropping a ball. I mean, he was putting the ball was coming out of his hands quickly. He was making great decisions. He was extending plays when need be, and he was putting them where the passes where they needed to go, and his receivers were dropping them. And then once the game got away from them a little bit, I thought Georgia did an excellent job of, we have them down. We have our foot on their throat. Let's put them out of their misery. So just some stats, passing yards, advantage Georgia 229 to 251. I'm sorry. Passing yards 229 to 251. And that was, there was a lot more attempts for Texas. Rushing yards, this is like kind of a crazy one. Considering the stable that Texas has, this is 128 rushing for Georgia. No one does that against Texas's defense. No one.
Georgia did.
Georgia did. And then Texas's offense, they had a season low of 23 rushing yards. That's wild, especially against the Georgia defense, which everybody is saying, hey, they aren't the Georgia D from last year. They aren't the Georgia front from last year. Third down, 4 for 11 for Georgia, 2 for 12 for Texas. But another big one to go along with the rush yard discrepancy is plays over 20 yards, splash plays, explosive plays. Texas had 1. Georgia had 6. 6 plays over 20 yards against a defense, which is like just statistically right there with Oklahoma. So that's saying a lot. Gunnar Stockton, 24 for 29, 82%, 229 passing yards, 5 total TDs, and 1 INT. Again, like I'm beating a dead horse, but this is against a very good defense. And Gunnar Stockton has played in games, and we've been like, oh, my God, look at what this kid could do. I did not think that Georgia has played a defense to the caliber of I mean, they haven't. This was his best game, in my opinion, considering maybe not statistically, but considering the competition. And the kid rose to the occasion. In comparison, Arch was 27 for 43, 251, 63%, 1 TD, 1 INT. Obviously not his best performance. He looked, good at times, but there was zero consistency. The last little, I'll let you guys, I'll turn the floor over to you guys. But like the last little thing I just want to touch on is I want to say that like Georgia's offense has kind of been criticized at times. I mean, they score a lot of points, but it's like sometimes they're stagnant. What's their identity? They had a hard time running the ball against other teams. Alabama, whose defense I don't think is great. They were kind of like stagnant. I thought Mike Bobo, with some of the creativity of some of the stuff, was phenomenal. I mean, really, there's one play that stands out in my mind. It was like an RPO. It was a triple option type quarterback, ride read. He pulled it, had the ability to throw the ball off the pole. It was like a counter. I want to say like a GT. He pulled it, threw the ball to the tight end in a drag. It was like Texas, I thought, didn't know how to defend them at times. Georgia outscored Texas. This is, you get a team in deep water and you drown them. They outscored them 21-0 in the fourth quarter. That's a Blood Tuesday stat. That is the most embarrassing part of it. If you're a Longhorn fan, is just, and listen, I love the Longhorns. I'm gonna ride with them, but at the end of the day, man, you get your nose bloodied like that at the end of the game. You got to look at yourself in the mirror and you got to examine your fight level. I'm gonna say something wild here right now. You ready? I'm gonna go ahead and say that I felt like during the game I was watching the national champions play. And I know that there's been some criticism, right? And there's, with as good as Ohio State looks and some of these other teams. Georgia has a loss. Georgia has some wins over some very good football teams and some close games. Their only loss is a 3-point loss to Alabama, who's pretty good. I felt like when I was watching that game, I was watching a team that was peaking at the right time, has all the pieces in place. Their quarterback is really coming into his own, and their defense is starting to really fly around. And it just felt like during that game, I was watching what I believe to be are going to be the national championships in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. We know what it was for Texas. It wasn't a good look, but they played. I mean, they played a great coach team, and through 9 games, we all like. I even thought Georgia didn't look like Georgia, but definitely this game looked like they're a little bit back to Georgia, especially against the Texas defense that has been getting better every single week. And Archer's been getting better. So I mean, yeah, it definitely was kind of like a beatdown. You hate to see it, and but one little short thing is anything could happen. I mean, you beat Texas A&M, and you're sitting there at whatever 10-3, and you got Notre Dame with 2 losses. Like how can they be like 8? I mean, we'll get to talk about that later, but how can they be 8 spots off of like Notre Dame or something like that? Like I don't know. Like
yeah, you just lost. I mean, you gotta. I mean, plus, and when you look at the final thing of it, they lost 35-10. I mean, it's not even like it was like if it's a nail biter. I don't think they dropped maybe two. They're ahead of a lot of 1 and 2 loss teams. If you lose at Georgia and in a 23 friggin' like 20 game, you're not dropping much.
Nope.
The fact they got, I'm telling you, this is
they
how
look at it like that though, or
they got thoroughly out coached, and that's my opinion of this. Because there is no way if you line up player to player, you might pick more of Texas's players over Georgia's players. You know,
I
as
don't know
far
about
as
that. They did get
listen,
out.
all
I don't
I'm
know
saying
about
is
that.
if you look at the
they got out
measurables,
coached. They got out coached.
if you look at the measurables and you look at the stars, I mean, I looked it up because I wanted to see some things. Texas has as much, if not more, than everybody in the country as far as the top 5, the star players, and they got a lot of good transfers to come in. They have the money. They have everything you need.
I mean,
But
the 5-star thing is to me a little bit of a misnomer. I mean, what's the quarterback? I'm sorry, what was the quarterback that got benched for Auburn? I'm losing his name right now. The Oklahoma
Jackson
transfer.
Arnold.
So I mean, and Mateer was a nothing recruit. So I mean, like the whole 5-star thing, I could take it or leave it. I get it. Texas has some guys they recruited well. They pay high in NIL. A lot of their 5-star guys, their offensive linemen are all 5-star guys. They're young and they're green and they can't protect. So it's like the whole 5-star thing. I'm sick of hearing it. They got out coached 100%. It was specifically, Bobo, I thought, called the game of his life. Moving forward, if he continues to have that kind of creativity, I think Georgia's gonna be real tough to beat, dude. You know
listen,
what I mean?
I'm just saying. I have a feeling when you hear Kirby Smart talk about the guys what he talked about that the guys that don't handle the practices and the hard stuff of what Georgia is. I think he was talking right to Texas. That's just my opinion of it. I was thinking he was looking at them saying, yeah, you could steal all the guys you want, but you're taking the guys that, maybe the guys that are scared of hard. And, we want to put those guys on our schedule. And that's what I think he was talking to. And I don't know. Listen, I don't know how it is over there in Texas. Nobody knows, as far as like their everyday thing. But I'm telling you one thing. I just know what hard looks like. And you could tell teams when they're like scrappy as they are. And that's the last thing I would say about Texas is I don't know if there's a lot of scrappy in Texas.
I mean, they were plenty scrappy, Z, not to get into it, dude. They were plenty scrappy when they line up and teed off on Oklahoma at the end of the game. Take Mateer's thumb out of the whole thing. They lined up in the fourth quarter. In the second half of the game, they had 91 yards rushing against Oklahoma.
Yeah,
the best
they
defense in
did
the
because
country.
I told you when you line up against Oklahoma and just run the ball, it's the worst thing against them.
But you don't do that if you're not scrappy. You don't hand the ball to Wisner, however many times you do in the second half, dude. So they're scrappy. What happened was, and we've seen it happen with good coaches. I want to be honest. I feel like there was an element to the Texas staff that outcoached Oklahoma because
what?
Venerable.
In the last game?
No, I'm talking about in the Red River Shootout. Like, I'm just trying to make a comparison
we're going back
here.
to that still. Okay.
Yeah, well, no, we are. My point to you is, you can sit like, listen, they played bad. They had a bad game. We can sit there and say that. I will, as a fan, I'm going to wear it. But they're not. I don't want to say they're soft, and I don't want to say they suck, and I don't want to say they have bad coaches. You got to tip your cap when a team lines up and beats you, and you give it your best. You tip your cap. That's what I think happened. I feel like Kirby Smart and his staff put together a great game plan, all three phases of the game, especially special teams, especially offense. And that's it. I mean, I don't think there's a lack of, there's zero scrappiness, and they have a bunch of 5-stars that are sitting there eating, drinking lattes and friggin' doing nothing. But they got beat by a really good team.
Man. That's what
I mean, listen, then whatever they needed to do, however they prepared their team for the Red River Shootout, because Venables couldn't get to Arch to save his life, and they lined up and teed off on Oklahoma, whose defense is awesome. So that's what they just need to do that every week then.
They did. And like I said in the past, Oklahoma and Texas in the Red River Shootout, I mean, I'm sorry, you take out that punt return, I think it was 5 clips on. It's a 16-6 game, and Oklahoma threw had 3 turnovers that Texas took. So, and you had what's his name Mateer come back from an injury, definitely too early. So, my opinion, I mean, Texas won the game, hands down, they won it, and they had a couple of good drives in the second half as far as running the ball, but Oklahoma couldn't do anything offensively. They were off the interception.
No pressure on Arch either. Say it fair. No, they couldn't get to Arch.
They didn't have to get to Arch because they ran the ball. Arch didn't torch them friggin' doing anything throwing the ball. So I don't know how much pressure he needed.
Was high, man.
My point is they ran the ball down Oklahoma's throat, and I'll say that again. But when you have 3 turnovers to nothing, I mean, that's what it was in that game. That's the key. I mean, Oklahoma, if they lose a turnover battle, they're not winning the game. They're not that talented against the top flight teams, and that's just my opinion of it.
I think Oklahoma is good enough to really make a dent. I do, and it's because of their defense. If anything happens, it's going to be because of their offense, and specifically because Mateer has to do too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I know. Listen, I just told you, they're limited. In my opinion, Jared, what I'm saying is they're limited, and I know what they're not good at. In my opinion, I've seen Texas be good at everything. Yeah. So I just think that's why I'm saying it's coaching, because when you're good and you could do a lot of things, and all of a sudden you go against a team like Kirby Smart, we know Kirby Smart's a good coach, and we know what he preaches there, and they couldn't handle it. I mean, they couldn't handle it to the fact that they couldn't keep the game within a score. I mean, this is probably two top teams, and it's a 35-10 blowout. Should never happen like that. That's just my opinion of it.
I agree.
All right. Well, we get to the next game here, Malt. We got the Fighting Irish and the Pitt Panthers, man. The Irish with a 37-15 win over the Panthers. What do you got?
Yeah, this was a beatdown. I mean, we'll start off with the college game day kick. Kid comes out of the crowd. He's got cleats on. Pat's asking him, like, yeah, did you bring cleats? And he goes, nah, I grabbed them from someone in the crowd.
Yeah.
So whatever. I mean, it kind of looked like he had a nice form off the first kick. He shanked it. So everyone's chanting, give him another one, and Pat's getting all pissed. He's like, oh yeah, when does this just become a charity you get to? So then he lays it on
hilarious, man.
$1 million here, $1 million there. It's
it's crazy.
$1 million kick, and he shanks it again. So I mean, I thought that was going to be the highlight of the game, considering the Pitt coach kind of just laid down last week on media. Yeah. So I mean, quick and easy here. Jeremiah Love, he's a monster. He might actually be a better prospect than Genty was last year.
Yeah.
Like 23 carries, 147 yards, a touchdown. Carr didn't have his best game with 2 interceptions, CJ Carr, but he did go 21 for 32, 212, and 2 tutties. Pitt's biggest issue was Notre Dame's defense was hounding them. 0 for 13 on 3rd down. So you never got into rhythm. You pretty much had 2 down possessions.
Yeah.
And they just it was just a stall the whole game from them. I was actually surprised they even got 15 points on the board.
It was that. I don't know when they scored it, but it was like it looked like a varsity team playing a JV team.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And Pitt's going for the division championship coming up.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's not fair. Notre Dame's not in a division. Listen, if you're Notre Dame, I would not go to a conference. You make too much money. You got a direct line right to the playoffs. Why would you leave that?
I agree.
It's
the only argument is they're depriving themselves of some conference years that they're not going to win the national championship. They could very easily have been ACC champions. How many times? You know what I mean?
I don't think anybody there cares.
Okay.
You know what the kids care? How much money I get. What am I getting? And you know what? They're getting Notre Dame can compete with anybody as far as pay goes because they have the television contract exclusive their own with NBC, and they have this line to the playoffs where if they just don't lose more than 2 games, they're going to be in the playoffs every year. I mean, it's and listen, Pitt's going to be playing Georgia Tech this week for a conference championship, and they didn't belong on the field with Notre Dame.
No.
So I mean, let's look at that. Let's look at that.
Where's Love in the Heisman right now? I mean, I know where it's like a quarter. At this stage of the game, it's like let's just give it to a quarterback. Like this kid is a stud. You want to talk about maybe the best player in the country?
Oh.
How the hell this kid doesn't get mentions? Wild to me.
He's unbelievable. I mean, he just does every week. It's something new that he does, just by running over, running past, running by, just everything he does. I mean, hurdling, whatever you look at.
You see him jump over kids. Dude, remember Nick?
Yeah, I know.
Nick Castellano.
Yeah.
He would soar through the air like it was, and then he would land at top speed. This kid is unreal, man.
Yeah, he is impressive, man. And the team, I mean, listen, I like what they do. I mean, plus they have the element of throwing the ball this year a little bit better than they've done in the past. So I think Notre Dame's a good team. And I think they're going to probably be in the playoffs. I mean, it looks like 100% chance right now.
I think they deserve
the teams they got ahead of them.
They deserve.
Listen, let's be honest. I mean, in all actuality, they really should have beat Texas A&M. We all say it. We keep saying it. We can't forget that. You can't forget that but they did lose handily to Miami. Now Miami's probably going to fall behind. They're going to be behind Pitt and Georgia Tech. But Notre Dame loses to them handily. I don't get it. Sometimes it just matters, I guess, when you catch a team and especially with Notre Dame, I don't understand how they're what's up with that team sometimes. But
I'll just say this in regards to that whole you could get a bunch of different fans of different teams and different conferences, and you talk about the playoffs, and there's a lot of valid arguments to be made about a lot of contradicting opinions. The one thing that I will say is this. And Z, I think you said this early on in the season due to NIL and the transfer portal and the amount of kids that leave every team every year. Why the preseason ranking thing needs to go. It needs to go away. And you need to rank these teams later on in the year. You know what I mean? And because we hang on to 2 things. And when I say wait, I mean, I feel like the playoff committee hangs on to 2 things that are just completely irrelevant now. Where you started in the beginning of the season, right? Because right now we're looking at Indiana and we're looking at Ohio State, and we're saying, oh, well, they were the number 1 team and they haven't lost and they've won convincingly and the whole thing. If you take preseason completely out of it, I think that they would look through a looking glass a little bit more clearly in regard to strength of schedule, good wins, good losses, all that stuff. Preseason rankings need to go, and I really genuinely feel like you're the best. You win a conference championship in a dog shit conference, and you're going to automatically get a bid because it's one of the better conferences. It's like right now, and again, this is going to sound self-serving. Give me as many 2-loss SEC teams as you can before you get Pitt in there. If Pitt or BYU or one of these teams, and take nothing against nothing against them, they're going to get smoked in the first round of the playoffs. If they lose, then I'm going to sit here and say I was wrong. But I don't think I'm wrong.
Yeah. I mean, that's what, like I said, we could say that. But again, look what Arizona State did last year. And I didn't think that everybody thought they were shit. They were the team last year that had no right getting in. And they come in and they win. I mean, so, I guess you could look at that sometimes. They
You
had
could.
teams in, but I mean, then SMU, you look at them, and they went up to Penn State, and they gave Penn State everything they can handle at home. And Penn State, I mean, again, who was Penn State? Who knows? But I have no problem with when you get down and listen. It could be my team too down there. But if you have 3 losses and you have like a 1-loss conference championship in another division, I think you got to say, all right, well, you know what? We're going to give it to them because even though they can't control what they have in their schedule and everything, but if they won their division, they won their conference, I say when you have a 12-team playoff, you let them get in there.
Yeah.
As much as I look at like Oklahoma, Texas, we're in the same boat sometimes with these things. And it could be coming up with Oregon too coming up. You have the chances to beat the teams in your conference. You lost to them, so this team's going to get a chance now, and I can understand that part, and I see it, but that's what also to me is the issue where you all want to follow the money and go to the conference, then you're going to deal with not being a conference champ and possibly missing the playoffs. Because I posted that thing in our group chat about all the conferences, if they would have kept them like they were. Like back in the day, you bring up like the Southwest Conference, the Big 8 Conference, and you have all these conferences. And if you spread everybody out the right way, and then you take all the conference championships, then you have a good-looking thing. But you don't have the best bunch of teams in 2 conferences. That's the difference. So that's what you got to look at. And now we have that, and we're going to, you wanted to chase the money because of the conference money. Now you're going to deal with not making the playoffs because you got 2 or 3 losses. So that's what I got to say about you for that, All right, we got to move on. We're definitely behind here, so we're going to pick this up. Malt, big game for the Ducks this week, Coach. Number 17, 8-2, 6-1 USC Trojans going into Autzen Stadium playing the number 8, 9-1, 6-1 Oregon Ducks. Coach,
baby.
How do you feel about scared of the big game, Lincoln Riley coming in and playing at Oregon since he was all scared and he left Oklahoma because they were going to the SEC, coming into your stadium, Coach?
Here we go. USC, couple bad stats for him here. Lost 8 straight as a road underdog. Okay, Lincoln Riley is 0-5 as a road underdog. In USC's last 21 games on the road, they're 5-16 with only 2 upsets. And so for that, I don't know. I mean, Oregon's offense is they're going to get healthy this week. They got their tight end back last week. DeCorian Moore probably should be playing this week. He was questionable last week, but they just held him out because they were playing a lesser team, they said. But it'd be
That's
cool.
That's the majority of the Big Ten, right?
It would be cool to see if Evan Stewart gets a couple reps this week, because he's been on an 8-month rehab right now for a meniscus. So I mean, you all right, dude? Like, it took me 2 weeks. I know I'm not playing at the level you are, dude. But,
hey, real quick, Z, wouldn't it? Who did Oklahoma just play? Alabama. If they had a guy questionable with an injury, could they afford to just sit him out? And you know what? We'll take it easy this week. We'll sit him out.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Go ahead, Mo.
Hey, like you guys say, just grab the.
You watch. Oregon's going to be on Georgia's schedule next year. You watch. Georgia wants to schedule Oregon.
The biggest factor for me here is Oregon's running game. I mean, it's a little it's what Penn State wishes it could be. I mean, you're averaging 235 yards rushing a game, and USC struggles in that factor, giving up 146 a game. So it's a little good luck to Lincoln Riley here.
Yeah, you're going to get a great offense and a stiff defense. I know. I've seen it for years.
We're just going to pound them.
We got Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks all over the NFL, but we just can't stop anybody. I know. Listen,
that was my one thing with USC. I don't know if they recruit defense. I don't think so. I think
they don't even play defense. Let's be honest, that whole conference before it got blown up, they didn't play defense in that conference.
Yeah.
The closest thing you had to defense was Stanford, who just ran power with like 4 tight ends and just played a ball-controlled offense. That was like the closest thing you had. I know there was like some good guys.
Stanford wasn't even in the Big 12, Coach. What the hell are you talking about?
I'm just saying, Stanford, USC, all those teams. That was like the.
Are you talking about the Pac-12? What are you talking about?
Yeah. Okay. Before it got blown up is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True. I mean, listen, it's this game, I mean, I've watched USC a little bit this week, and this year, and I've seen Oregon too. And honestly, like I'm gonna be honest, I'm very close to picking USC to beat Oregon. I really am. I almost picked it, but then I'm just looking at Lincoln Riley in this game. I mean, I don't know defensively. I don't know if they'll stop Oregon, and I don't know if Oregon's going to stop USC. This, my opinion, has the makings of a 45-42 game. I mean, that's what I think it's going to be. It's going to be 40s each. I mean, I think
I agree with you. I just think should that be the case, Oregon has the ability to just take the ball and say, "Hang on, we're just going to take the air out of the ball and pound you in the face."
Yeah, but honestly,
the game.
You've watched
Time of possession.
USC can run the ball too. USC can run the ball. They're not bad.
I know, but
but again, I've seen them against the team that they've played, so I don't know how good some of them are. It's what you got to look at right now. I don't know. I mean, this is great that they both have this game, and I wish that there was more games like in the Big Ten that actually meant something. But I'm glad to see this game, and I really think it's going to be. I told you, I really was close to picking USC in this game, but I just think just because of the home game, maybe it might be some bad weather. You never know. And then Lincoln Riley is going to complain about something. He had to travel to Illinois and play at 12. He complained about that. He had this game go on here. He had to complain about that. He's going to complain about something. And you know what? We'll see what happens. And in my opinion, I don't think their defense is as good as Oregon's defense.
And Oregon's run game against Iowa, that showed me something. I just feel like they have the ability. They're not even creative, dude. I mean, if the majority of the time, it's like they just run the ball downhill and they get yardage. They're talented up front. They got a stable of running backs. I think Oregon takes care of business.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Next game we'll get into is I'm going to talk about the aforementioned number 22 ranked 7-3, 5-1 Pitt Panthers traveling down to Hotlanta to play on number 16, 9-1, 6-1 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Massive game in the ACC for the potential playoff spot. Pittsburgh coming off, that beat down at home at the hands of Notre Dame. And Georgia Tech has just been hovering around, kind of like squeaking some wins by. In my opinion, I think this game has Georgia Tech written all over it. I just see a big game by Haynes King. I see Georgia Tech really taking this game. I don't know if Pittsburgh was holding back a little bit, but, as far as I've seen it, I think Georgia Tech's going to take this game, and I don't think Pitt really is. I don't think they have a chance in this game. That's just my opinion of it. So what
Agreed.
Yeah.
The Georgia Tech's offense, they're physical and they're gonna run power and counter 100 different ways. They're gonna do a bunch of different stuff. You gotta listen. Let's be honest, dude. The whole we can lose to Notre Dame by 100. They almost lost by 100. They could have lost by 100.
Yeah,
I mean, just caliber wise, they did not look like they. Georgia Tech's for real, dude. So.
Yep. Walt, would you agree? Same thing.
Yeah, the only thing I would say in this game is that, we know what Jeremiah Love did to him last week, but they do come in with a 9th rushing defense. So, and you want to get, I don't even care. I hope I hope Pitt loses the next 2, and this coach gets his everything shoved right back into him.
Listen, Pat Narduzzi's always been a good coach. He's very got that. I think he's a scrappy guy. I think he's right where he needs to be. Listen, that's just something to be said about being in a place where you can be there for a long period of time and, be a little bit above average and you'll be fine. That's what some coaches don't mind doing. And listen, I wouldn't mind if I was a college coach and I'm making good money and I'm in a good town and my family's happy. It's not a bad place to be,
It's the closest thing they have to job security.
Yeah. It's like, hey, listen, there's a lot of teams like that. And you know what? I don't know. There's nothing wrong with that, man. All right, we'll move on real quick. We're going to try to get some stuff in here, but we got another big game as far as ranked teams. You got, the BYU Cougars, number 12, going into Cincinnati, the number 25 ranked Cincinnati Bearcats. You got a 9-1 team, a 7-3 team. This should be, probably a little bit of a bloodbath between the two of them, I think. But Coach Kite, what do you think?
Cincinnati's the home dog, I think, and it's senior day. Those are two little just interesting tidbits.
Yeah.
Listen, pivotal game for BYU, obviously. There is a mathematical way, I believe, Cincinnati gets to the conference championship game with a win here. So it is very important for them, obviously. But BYU has, I think, their destiny in their hands here. Um, you know, we got to see them step up a little bit. They had a good bounce back win over TCU, but you want to see them come out, Bear Brockmeyer, run the offense, be physical, run the ball downhill, the whole thing. I do think that BYU is going to take care of business here, but I do think there is a chance Cincinnati, their defense is a little bit questionable. 86th against the run, 88th against the pass. And they kind of like label themselves a bend but don't break team. I don't think that's good against BYU's offense because I think BYU will they're going to hit you over and over again.
They'll take the bends.
They're going to take the bends. They're going to get in there. They're going to hold the ball. It's not exactly a good matchup, I think, for Cincinnati. If they want a chance, their quarterback, big kid, 6'3", 235 pounds, Brendan Sorsby. The guy is a threat with his legs. I think he's going to need to make some plays with his legs to run to win the game. It should be interesting. I think BYU handles it because should they win this game, they essentially erase their loss to Texas Tech because I think they win this week. If they win this week, they could beat. I think their next game is UCF. They go to the championship game most likely against Texas Tech. There they go. It's almost like they erased their loss. So
yeah,
that in a nutshell. I think BYU is very motivated and very capable and needs the win more. And the hungry dog eats, man.
All right, baby. Hey, let's get into our picks right now. We're going to get into last week. I went 2-1. I lost on a couple of points in the Tulane FAU game. But this week, I'm going to take the Texas Little Horns minus 8.5 over Arkansas. All right. I'm going to take Central Florida minus 13.5 over Oklahoma State. And I'm going to take SMU minus 2.5 over Louisville. Coach Kite.
All right, real quick. I'm going SMU minus 2.5 over Louisville. BYU minus 2.5 over Cincy, and Houston minus 1.5 over TCU.
Coach.
All right, I went 1-2. Terrible last week. Lost LSU, lost Texas, but we won on Wednesday, so that's all that mattered, I guess. But this week, I'm going ballsy here. I mean, I think I'm taking Florida Gators plus 3.5 at home. I think they're going to outright beat Tennessee. GT, Georgia Tech minus 2.5. And I got two games here. I got to pick one. I'm going to shy away because you just took BYU, right, Kite?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go Buffalo plus 1.5 tonight over Miami, Ohio. They're at home. Can't complain here. But I'm going to stay away from the if I win, you lose. If you win, I lose. Even though I think it's kind of a trap. I think the spread screams no good. But
all right. Okay, Coach, what do you got for your picks of the week?
Here we go. Picks of the week. We're going Oregon minus 7.5. I mean, I got it Monday. It moved to 9.5 now. So I think that's an 8 to 10 point victory. It could be an 8 to 14 point victory. So I think they're going to cover easily. We're going to Florida plus 3.5 and Florida to win money line. And I'm taking Georgia Tech on the money line.
All right.
Big time.
All right, baby. Going into players of the week. Now, for me, I'm taking player of the week. And I'm scared about this guy coming into Norman this weekend. But running back Ahmad Hardy from Missouri, 25 carries, 300 yards, 3 TDs, average of 12 yards a carry. And I'm a little worried about these guys coming in playing my Sooners, man. Coach.
Here we go. This player, headhunter of the week, 3 tackles, 1 solo tackle, 2 assisted tackles. He had 2 interceptions. 1 was a 60-yard pick six. 1 pass breakup. Your headhunter of the week is Jacoby Thomas, safety, Miami Hurricanes.
Oh, okay.
I was going to go with your guy, Z, but I had the 2 interceptions, and I was going to go with the Oklahoma guy, but a couple.
No, you made a good choice there.
That's all right, man. Just a team
Fools
defense,
of the
man.
week. Fools
Team
of the
defense.
week. I got to tip my cap to them. Statistically, there's probably better offensive output and rushing output, but when you
gotta be the Bulldogs, man.
When you got to take into account you're playing one of the best defenses in the country.
Texas Little
356 total yards, 128 rushing yards, 5.6 yards per play. I got to tip my cap to them. The Georgia Blood Tuesday Bulldogs are your
smacking around the Texas Little Horns. Unbelievable. That was just like, I mean, Texas was like, you know, mother screaming. They were like tapping out. I mean, it was just bad, man.
I know.
Kirby
they were
on
so
it.
upset after the game.
Even
The only
piles
thing they
on
could
it
do to make
afterwards,
themselves
saying we
feel
want to
better was
schedule
remember the
Texas
Red
every
River
year.
Shootout.
We wanted to schedule Texas
They got to remember
every
the
year,
Red River Shootout, dude. That's all.
We want to schedule Texas every year. He said it after the game. I can't believe it. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week right here.
Great job, guys.